Two people, two paychecks, $10,000 hitting the bank account every single month. On paper, this is the American dream. It's the milestone everyone strives for. You've done the work, you've climbed the ladder, and you've finally reached that 5-figure monthly marker. It should feel like winning. So why does it feel like there's nothing left? Why is there no real savings building up? Why is there zero breathing room when an unexpected car repair pops up? Why does it feel like you're sprinting on a treadmill that's slowly increasing its incline? No matter how fast you run, you aren't actually moving forward. You're just exhausted. You're left with that quiet, nagging question in the back of your mind at 2 a.m. Where is all the money going? Because logically, this shouldn't be happening. Two incomes are supposed to make life easier. They're supposed to give you leverage, security, and options. They are supposed to be the cheat code to financial freedom. And yet, for the vast majority of couples, it does the exact opposite. It creates a gilded cage, a life that looks beautiful from the outside, but feels like a trap from the inside. My name is Isabella. Over the years, I've watched countless couples with powerhouse combined incomes stay stuck, stressed, and financially fragile. I've seen people earning $200,000 a year, living paycheck to paycheck, while other couples making half that amount quietly build real wealth, retire early, and live with total peace of mind. The difference isn't the math, it's the architecture of their lives. If you're in a relationship right now and you can't figure out why money always feels tight despite both of you working your tails off, or if you're just starting out and want to avoid the invisible trap that keeps most couples modern-day indentured servants for decades, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this helps you. Because what you're about to see isn't obvious. In fact, it feels completely normal while it's happening. It's praised by your parents, encouraged by your friends, and subsidized by your bank. That's why it's so dangerous. Let's break this down in a way most people never do. We're going to look under the hood of the double income engine and see why it so often stalls out right when you need it most. Imagine a couple earning about $10,000 a month after taxes. In most parts of the country, that is a fantastic income. It's not private jet money, but it's definitely never worry about groceries money. It's solid middle to upper middle class money. Now, here's what most people assume when they get married or move in together. If person A earns $5,000 and person B earns $5,000, they now have $10,000 to work with. Double the income, double the opportunity, half the burden. But that's a lie. It's a mathematical truth, but a psychological fallacy. In reality, when two incomes combine, they don't behave like math. They behave like gas. And like gas, they expand to fill whatever container you put them in. If you put that $10,000 into a lifestyle container designed for two successful professionals, the money will expand until it hits the walls. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world, because stories tell us truths that spreadsheets hide. Meet Chris and Lila. Before they moved in together, their lives were simple, almost by necessity. Chris was earning around $5,200 a month after taxes. He lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment. He drove a 7-year-old Toyota that was paid off. He went out on Friday nights, but he packed his lunch for work. His total monthly spending was around $2,700. This meant Chris was saving roughly $2,500 every single month. He felt rich. He had a stashing mindset. Lila had a similar situation. She earned just under $5,000 monthly after taxes. She shared a 2-bedroom place with a roommate to keep costs down. Her expenses were about $2,300. She was saving close to $2,000 a month. Individually, they weren't doing anything flashy. They weren't influencers. They were just two disciplined people. But look at the combined potential. Together, they were saving over $4,000 a month. That's nearly $50,000 a year. In 5 years, they'd have $250,000 just sitting there. They were on track for something most people never reach: real, unstoppable financial momentum. Then, they fell in love. They decided to move in together. And like most couples, they didn't think they were making a risky decision. They thought they were doing the logical thing, the adult thing. After all, everyone tells you that two can live as cheaply as one. You share the rent, you share the Netflix password, you save on utilities. But the efficiency myth is the first step into the trap. Instead of combining their lives to save money, Chris and Lila combined their lives to upgrade them. It started with the apartment. They didn't want Chris's bachelor pad, and they didn't want Lila's roommate situation. They wanted a home. They wanted a place that reflected their status as a power couple. They found a beautiful 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood. Rent went from their individual $1,200 each, $2,400, to $3,200. They justified it easily. It's only an extra $800 between us, and we earn $10,000. We can afford it. Then came the car upgrade. Chris's Toyota was getting high in mileage. Now that they were a serious couple, they wanted a car that was reliable for road trips. They traded it in for a $500 a month SUV payment. Lila followed suit a year later with a $450 a month lease. Then came the food. When you're single, you eat a bowl of cereal for dinner when you're tired. When you're a couple, dinner is an event. It's, "How was your day?" over a bottle of wine and a $60 DoorDash order. It's trying that new bistro on Saturday night. Their food spending jumped from a combined $800 to over $1,800. Then came the life fillers. A matching furniture set, on credit, because the old stuff didn't fit the new aesthetic, the premium gym membership, because they wanted to go together, the international vacations, because we work hard, we deserve it. Nothing they did was reckless. They didn't walk into a casino and bet it all on red. They didn't buy a Ferrari. They made reasonable upgrades. They bought things that most people and most bank algorithms would say they can afford. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Before they realized it, Chris and Lila's total monthly expenses had climbed from under $5,000 to almost $8,500. Think about that. Their income stayed the same, but their cost of existence nearly doubled. Now, look at the math again. That $10,000 doesn't feel like $10,000 anymore. It feels tight. After the $8,500 in bills, groceries, gas, and basic lifestyle maintenance, they have $1,500 left. But wait, taxes, insurance fluctuations, the occasional wedding gift, or a vet bill eats that $1,500 alive. Their savings dropped from $4,500 a month to barely $500. Sometimes zero. Same people, same earning power, completely different destiny. This is where most people get confused. They look at Chris and Lila and say, what's the problem? They have a nice car, a nice house, and they're paying their bills. They're successful. But there's a massive, life-altering difference between being able to afford a payment and being able to build wealth. Wealth is what you keep. Lifestyle is what you display. And in the two-paycheck trap, the display consumes the keep. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface, and this is the part that should keep you up at night. That second paycheck is no longer an asset. It has been absorbed, quietly, automatically, by a lifestyle that expanded just enough to consume it. Let's isolate Layla's income to make this crystal clear. Layla earns $5,000. Where does her $5,000 actually go? $800 goes to the rent upgrade, $450 goes to her car, $150 goes to her car insurance, $500 goes to her share of the increased food costs, $300 goes to her professional wardrobe and upkeep, $1,000 goes to the lifestyle, vacations, furniture payments, subscriptions, $500 goes to the convenience costs of working, parking, lunches, coffee. Suddenly, Layla is working 40 to 50 hours a week, dealing with a boss she might not like, and commuting in traffic, all to contribute maybe $1,000 to the actual bottom line of the household. The other $4,000 of her check? It's just paying for the costs associated with her having a job and the lifestyle that her job allows them to have. This leads to a question most couples are too afraid to ask. Is the second paycheck actually building our future, or is it just funding the life that requires two paychecks to sustain? This is where the trap tightens its grip, because once your lifestyle adjusts to two incomes, it becomes dependent on two incomes. In the beginning, two incomes felt like a choice. It felt like extra. But once you sign the 30-year mortgage based on two salaries, once you have two car leases, once you're used to the $200 dinners, the second income is no longer a choice. It's a requirement for survival. Let's fast forward a few years in the lives of Chris and Layla. They've had some raises. They're now earning $12,000 a month combined. On the outside, they look like they're crushing it. They moved to a bigger house in a better school district. Then life happens, because life always happens. They have a child. This is the moment of truth for the two-paycheck trap. Suddenly, the efficiency of two people working disappears. Childcare enters the frame, $2,000 a month for a decent daycare. The house needs more stuff. The convenience spending, Uber Eats, cleaning services, skyrockets because they are both exhausted. Layla looks at the numbers and realizes something devastating. Her $5,000 a month income is now being hit by $2,000 in childcare and $1,000 in work-related expenses. She is netting $2,000. But their mortgage and car payments are so high that they need that $2,000 just to keep the lights on. She wants to stay home for a year. She wants to breathe. She wants to slow down. But she can't. If she stops working, the house goes into foreclosure. The cars get repossessed. The dream life collapses like a house of cards. She isn't working to get ahead anymore. She's working to maintain a system that only exists because she works. This is what the trap really is. It's not about having a low income. It's about having high dependency. It's about being fragile. If one of them gets sick, the system breaks. If one of them gets laid off, the system breaks. If one of them simply wants to pivot careers or start a business, they can't. They are earning 90% of the population, yet they have the same amount of freedom as a medieval serf. They are tied to the land, or in this case, tied to the desk. Now let's look at a different path, because this isn't a doom and gloom story, it's a choose-your-own-adventure story. Meet Jordan and Amara. They have a similar combined income to Chris and Layla. They're just as ambitious, just as hardworking, but when they moved in together, they made a radical decision, a decision that their friends thought was weird and their parents thought was unnecessary. They decided to live as if one of them didn't have a job. They chose an apartment based on what Jordan could afford alone. It was a nice place, but it wasn't a flex. They kept their old cars. They didn't upgrade their furniture all at once. They kept their total monthly spending at $4,500. Now look at the math for Jordan and Amara. They earn $5,000, they spend $4,500, they have $5,500 left over every single month. That is $66,000 a year. In 3 years, they have $200,000 in high-yield savings and index funds. In 5 years, they have enough to buy a house in cash or to let those investments grow until they become work-optional in their 40s. But the real magic isn't in the bank account, it's in the options. When Jordan and Amara have a child, there is no panic. Amara can decide to stay home for 3 years. She can do it because their life doesn't depend on her paycheck. Jordan can decide to quit his high-stress corporate job and start that consulting firm he's always dreamed of. He can do it because their life doesn't depend on his full salary. They have used their two incomes to buy the one thing Chris and Layla can't afford: freedom. One couple used two incomes to build a bigger lifestyle. The other used two incomes to build a bigger moat. This is the shift that changes everything. Two incomes should not be used to upgrade your life. They should be used to accelerate your freedom. One income covers your life, the other builds your future. But most people reverse it. They use both incomes to build a life they can't escape from. And the worst part? It doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening. It feels like progress. It feels like leveling up. It feels like you're doing exactly what society expects you to do. You might be wondering, Isabella, if this is so obvious when you lay it out, why does almost everyone fall into this trap? It's because of a psychological phenomenon called lifestyle creep, fueled by relative deprivation. When you're single and making $50K, your friends are making $50K. You all eat pizza and drive beaters. You feel fine. But when you're a power couple making $150K combined, your social circle changes. You start hanging out with other couples who have the $4,000 a month mortgage. You see their kitchen renovations on Instagram. You see their Viking range and their sub-zero fridge. Suddenly, your perfectly functional kitchen feels old. Your $1,200 rent feels temporary. We don't measure our success against our own goals. We measure it against the people in our immediate vicinity. And because most of those people are also caught in the two-paycheck trap, you are essentially competing to see who can be the most successfully broke. There's also the reward bias. You and your partner both work 50 hours a week. You're tired, you're stressed, you feel like you sacrifice so much for your careers. So when the weekend comes, you feel entitled to reward yourselves. We work so hard, we deserve this $400 spa day. We work so hard, we deserve the luxury SUV. The problem is that these rewards are the very things that force you to keep working so hard. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. You're buying treats to compensate for the stress of a life that is only stressful because you're trying to pay for the treats. It's financial insanity disguised as self-care. If you're listening to this and realizing you're already in the trap, or you're smelling the bait and want to turn around, here is the tactical blueprint to reclaiming your power. This isn't about living like a monk, it's about being an architect instead of an accident. Step 1. Define your one income number. Sit down tonight with your partner. Open the bank statements. Ask this question. If one of us lost our job tomorrow, could we survive without touching savings? For 90% of couples, the answer is a terrifying no. Your goal is to make that answer a yes. Look at your fixed costs: housing, transport, insurance, utilities. If these exceed 50% of a single income, you are in the danger zone. You aren't living life, you're managing a crisis. Step 2. Mentally and physically separate the incomes. Even if you both work, you should treat one income as the life fund and the other as the freedom fund. The life fund pays the mortgage, the groceries, and the light bill. The freedom fund goes directly, automatically, into investments, debt payoff, or a down payment fund. If you never see the money in your checking account, you won't feel like you can afford the upgrade. Live on the smaller check. Build wealth with the larger one. Step 3. The wait and wait rule. Before any lifestyle upgrade, a new car, a bigger house, a premium subscription, you must do 2 things. Wait 30 days. The new toy dopamine hit wears off in about 72 hours. If you still want it in 30 days, the desire might be real. Calculate the wait. Don't look at the monthly payment, look at the opportunity cost. That $500 car payment isn't $500. It's the $1.2 million it would have been if invested in an index fund over 30 years. Is the new car smell worth $1 million of your future? Usually the answer is no. Step 4. Beware of the convenience tax. When 2 people work high-pressure jobs, they start outsourcing their lives. They pay for meal kits because they're too tired to shop. They pay for house cleaning because they're too tired to scrub. They pay for laundry services. They pay for premium parking. Individually, these seem like time savers, but often you're working 10 hours a week just to pay for the services that save you 5 hours of chores. You're trading your life force for a marginal increase in comfort. Audit your convenience spending. If it's more than 5% of your take-home pay, you're leaking wealth. Step 5. Track the second income leak. For the next 3 months, track every dollar that comes out of that second paycheck. You will be shocked to find that a huge chunk of it is likely going toward work-related costs: clothes, gas, lunches, stress relief, and comparison spending, buying things because your coworkers have them. If your second income isn't netting you at least 60% of its face value after all associated costs, you need to seriously evaluate the structure of your career. The goal here isn't to be cheap, it's to achieve symmetry. Symmetry is when your lifestyle and your values are aligned. Most couples have an asymmetrical life. They value family time and travel, but their bank statements show they value expensive housing and new cars. When you live on one income and save the other, you create a buffer of FU money. This is the ultimate relationship stress reducer. Most divorces are cited as being caused by money issues, but it's rarely a lack of money. It's the stress of the trap. It's the feeling of two people being chained together, forced to pull a heavy wagon uphill, and knowing that if one of them stumbles, they both fall. When you remove the dependency on the second paycheck, the resentment disappears. You don't fight about the $4 coffee anymore because you have $100,000 in the bank. You don't panic when the water heater breaks because you're living on half of what you make. You don't feel trapped in a job you hate because you have the runway to quit. At the end of the day, this isn't about math, it's about power. The two-paycheck trap is a modern invention. It's a byproduct of a society that wants you to be a good consumer. It wants you to earn a lot and spend a lot. It wants you to be just successful enough to stay in the game, but never successful enough to leave it. The most dangerous financial trap in the world doesn't look like debt. It doesn't look like failure. It doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like success. It looks like two incomes. It looks like a good life. It looks like everything is working until you realize that you're running twice as fast just to stay in the same place. If you want a different life, you have to make different moves. You have to be willing to look less successful than your neighbors today so that you can be infinitely more free than them tomorrow. Don't let your second paycheck fund a bigger cage. Let it fund your exit strategy. Because the real power couple isn't the one with the biggest house or the newest cars. The real power couple is the one that owns their time, owns their future, and doesn't owe anyone a damn thing. So, where is your money going? Is it buying you things, or is it buying you your life back? If this perspective shifted something for you today, do me a favor, share this with your partner. Have the one income conversation. It might be the most uncomfortable talk you've ever had, but it will also be the most important. And if you're ready to stop sprinting on the treadmill and start building real momentum, stick around. We've got a lot more to cover.